Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Safety Short Series. This is the 21st video of the series and today's topic is Fire Prevention Plan, FPP. Its purpose, responsibility, how to implement and finally drafting guidelines. So whenever we draft any document or prepare or are thinking of any plan-based document, we must carefully consider from where and understand its purpose. So Fire Prevention Plan, FPP, the purpose of the Fire Prevention Plan is to eliminate the cause of fire, correct? To prevent loss of life and property by fire and to comply with the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, that is OSHA standards on fire prevention, that is 29 CFR 1910.39, and in India part 4 of NBC dealing exclusively and comprehensively for fire and life safety is the prime code document on the subject in our country, right? So supplemented by several other state and local level developed controlled regulations and building bylaws. Now the whole objective of these regulatory document is for ensuring and implementation and maintenance of basic minimum standards of construction, structure as well as fire and life safety in the building of all type of occupancy, which is in fact the social, moral and legal responsibility of the entire community. It provides employees with the information and guidelines that will assist them in recognizing, reporting and controlling the fire hazard. Now, we mentioned two things here. OSHA's 29 CFR 1910.39 and part 4 of NBC. Now, OSHA standards 29 CFR 1910.39, it describes the fuel source, hazards or other material on site that could initiate or contribute both to the spread of fire as well as building system, such as fixed fire extinguishing system and fire alarm system in place of control the ignition spread of fire. Or now let's see how it works for an organization. One must understand how fire prevention plan serves to reduce the risk of fire at our workplace. Correct. So firstly, the FPP, that is Fire Prevention Plan, identifies material that are potential fire hazard and their proper handling and storage procedures. Then we must distinguish potential ignition source and the proper control procedure of those material. The plan describes fire protection equipment and or system that can be used to control fire hazard. It also identifies person responsible for maintaining the equipment and system installed to prevent or control ignition source of fire. The FPP identifies person responsible for control and accumulation of flammable or combustible material. It describes good housekeeping procedure necessary to ensure and control the accumulated flammable and combustible waste material and residues to avoid fire emergencies, and the plan provides training to the employees with regards to fire hazard to which they may be exposed. This is the purpose of Fire Prevention Plan, that is FPP. Now let's discuss some responsibilities, because we are defining it, right? So let us discuss on the responsibility part. What happens in the responsibility? So responsibility, the fire safety, basically fire safety is everyone's responsibility, right? So all employees should know how to prevent, correct? So all employees should first know what? All employees should know how to prevent and respond to the fire and are responsible for adhering to the company policy regarding fire emergencies. So let's define the roles one by one, starting with the management. So management determines fire prevention and protection policies. Now, managers should provide adequate, hazard control to provide, a safe workplace. Now, managers should also provide adequate resource and training to the employee to encourage fire prevention and safest possible response in the event of fire emergencies. Now, incident controller or administrator. So, what an administrator is? Basically, the person who administers things. So that can be a plant head or a person dedicated. Now, this person maintains all records pertaining to the plan. The administrator should also develop and administer the fire prevention training program, ensure that the fire control equipment and system are appropriate and properly maintained, control fuel source hazard in the workplace, and conduct fire risk survey and make recommendations for improvements. Now, what are the responsibility of this? Comes management and administrator. Now, supervisors. So, supervisors should ensure that the employees receive appropriate fire safety training. Supervisor should, notify the administrator when changes in operation increases the risk of fire. They are also responsible for enforcing fire prevention and protection policies. Now, what are the responsibility of employees? So, all employees should complete all required training before working without supervision. It's important that employees also, conduct operations safely to limit the risk of fire, report potential fire hazard to their supervisors, and follow fire emergency procedures. That is a must. Now, let's discuss about the implementation part. So, because everything, what do you think that FPP or fire prevention plan? What do you think from where it starts? Fire department, safety department. Do you think that it starts from there? No, it starts from housekeeping. To limit the risk of fire, good and safe housekeeping is critical. All employees should take all employees should take best possible precautions when it comes to housekeeping. So, how it can be done? Firstly, you should minimize the storage of combustible material in their area. Make sure that the door, hallways, stairs, and other exit routes are kept free from obstructions. You should know from where you will exit. It should be clear and with no obstructions. Dispose of combustible waste in covered or airtight metal containers, because it should not, freely roam here and there. As soon as its work is done, specifically, this goes to maintenance department or even daily oiling and repair work guys. Done. Don't leave free flowing things here and there. Correct. Use and store flammable materials in well ventilated areas away from ignition source. This means try to keep things in middle, not on the corners, supported by walls. Think why mostly all switches and all possible source of ignition like AC or utility lines are there, right, on the wall side. So always try and keep the material away from the walls. Use only non-flammable cleaning products. We are only concerned with cleaning of our premises, but do we really put this thing in mind whether our cleaning or wiping material is flammable or not? Keep incompatible or chemically reactive substances away from each other. Most important for storage, keeping a compatibility chart with two chemicals, how two chemicals react with each other and in which state. Sometimes although they might be non-reactive, but in moist condition or if some spillages happen, also combines the two, making them reactive. So you have to be careful on that. Perform hot works, that is welding work, in an open or any open flame or ignition source in control and well ventilated area. Make sure that a heat ignition source or the area is tested and known to have any flammable fuels or fumes there. So before starting, like you have issued a work permit, but you have to ensure that that it is not a flammable area. Always keep equipments in good working order. Inspect electrical wires and appliances regularly and keep motors and machine tools free from dust and grease. Ensure that heating units are safeguarded. Now, safeguarded means properly insulated and can be, this can save a lot of heat loss also if it is properly insulated. Report all gas leaks immediately. A responsible person shall ensure that all gas leaks are repaired immediately upon notification. Now, repair and clean up, flammable liquid leakage immediately. It should be a practice that material has spilled. How to identify? Use light color. You can, in such areas, and you'll know immediately the spillages are there. Always color it very light, so you'll know whether the spillages are happening or not. Now, keep work areas free from dust, lint, sawdust, scraps, and other materials. Leaving scrap is not good. Clean area means we are letting our blind spots. If it is not clean, we are just leaving a blind spot, so we'll not know what is below there. Correct. Now, do not rely on extension cords. If wiring improvements are needed, take care and not to overload the circuits and with multiple pieces of equipments attached to one. Ensure that required hot work permits are obtained when the task is to be performed. Give it on site so that you also know that what is on the condition, on site conditions. Now, turn off all electrical equipment when it is not in use. Now let's understand how to administer the FPP, how to administer the fire prevention plan. Now, of course, everyone should be properly trained, and the plan, should be exercised regularly. Another key component is to make sure that the fire prevention plan equipment is properly maintained. The plan administrator or the administrator who administers the activities should, or another assigned person should ensure that all tools, equipment, and machinery are maintained according to the manufacturer's specification. Management should ensure that everyone complies with the requirement of National Fire Protection Association, that is NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, NFPA code, OSHA, IS, or any other standard company considers ideal based on the knowledge of individual. Remember, standards are just guidelines. When what best suits your site is on to you. For specific equipments, it is different. So only properly trained individuals should perform maintenance work. Now, equipment is subject to maintain and inspected and tested. So there are some, when you are effectively administering something or you're trying to implement something, so what you have to do, you have to make sure that the equipment installed to detect fuel leakages, control heating, and control pressurized system are to be subjected to the maintenance, inspection, and testing procedures. Portable fire extinguishers, automatic sprinkler system, or fixed extinguishing systems. These are also to be maintained, inspected, and tested properly. Detection system for smoke, heat, and flame are also to be maintained, inspected, and tested properly, and records are to be maintained. Fire alarm system, again, maintained, inspected, and tested, and records are to be maintained. Emergency backup system and equipments, they support like DG pumps or control panels. All these are to be, or fire tenders, so all these are to be maintained, inspected, and tested, and records are to be maintained. Finally, let's understand the written plan component. The fire prevention plan must be written, be kept in workplace, and be made available to employee for review. However, according to OSHA, if we have 10 or fewer employees, you can communicate the plan orally also to the employees. Now imagine small site, still advise if it is written, it can be reviewed. Verbal things can't be recorded and can be presented as a record. So, although it is there. So at a minimum, your fire prevention plan must include a list of all possible major fire hazards, properly handling and storage procedure of hazardous material, potential ignition sources and their controls, and that type of fire protection equipment necessary to control each major hazard. Now, procedures to control or accumulations of flammable and combustible waste material, there should be a proper procedure. Procedure to, regularly maintenance of and safeguard installed of, heat producing equipments to prevent the accidental ignition of combustible material. There should be a procedure of regular maintenance in that. the name of job title of employee responsible for maintaining the equipment to prevent the control source of ignition and fire, the name of job title employee responsible for controlling of fuel source hazard. An employer must inform employee upon initial assignment of to a job of fire hazard to which they are exposed. The employer must also review each employee those part of fire prevention plan necessary for self-protection. Hope we were able to give you as much information on FPP. Thank you for your support. Like I said, so Safety Short is a series focusing on short safety videos. Thank you all for your support. Keep liking and sharing, and do not forget to subscribe to us for our motivation. And we'll keep on posting more such videos. Till then, be connected and stay safe.